Okay, hi everyone. Good morning, all of you. Today we'll start with the quote Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain. Okay, so this is very important. We have to enjoy every moment, right? So it is not like waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain. Okay, so this is every moment in our life we have to enjoy. And today is the birthday of George Boole. Anybody remember this Boole name? When did you come across?
Sir, Boolean expression.
Yeah, very good. Boolean algebra, Boolean expressions, right? So he is that Boole. The English mathematician and logician who helped establish modern symbolic logic and an algebra of logic, now called Boolean algebra. By replacing logical operations by symbols, Boole showed that the operations could be manipulated to give logically consistent results. And Boole's logical algebra is essentially an algebra of classes, being based on such concepts as complement and union of classes. The study of mathematical or symbolic logic developed mainly from his ideas and is basic to the design of digital computer circuits. Boolean algebras also found important applications in such diverse fields as topology, measure theory, probability, and statistics. And also, he has written a lot of important works on differential calculus and all. And so what he says is, no matter how correct a mathematical theorem may appear to be, one ought never to be satisfied that there was not something imperfect about it until it also gives the impression of being beautiful. Okay, so usually all these theorems they give beautiful results. Okay, so till it looks beautiful, there must be something imperfection somewhere, though it may appear to be good, but we should not get satisfied till it looks beautiful. Okay, so that's what he says. Okay, today we will go for finite volume method with unstructured grids. So last two classes, we have seen how to generate unstructured grids, right? We have seen that there are two steps in generating unstructured grid. One is uh, generation of nodes and then triangulation of it. Again, triangulation, we have seen two methods, one the advancing front method and another is Delaunay split method. And as I told, Delaunay's method is the most popular and widely applied, and all the packages they use Delaunay grid generation mainly because they give good quality grid. Okay, that is the main important of Delaunay grid. Okay, so it will check whether quality is good or not. We have seen how it changes or swaps from one kind of triangles to another kind of triangles to avoid that uh, low quality grids. Okay, so that's what we have seen. So once we have the unstructured grid generated, so how to solve the equations using finite volume method we will see. Because finite difference methods we cannot use with unstructured grids. We are forced to use either finite volume or finite element methods. So if you see, mainly finite element methods are used in structural problems. All design people, they use finite element method, but we use finite volume method. There are one or two reasons. One is finite element methods are very efficient for linear problems. So usually we will have linear problems in structures, but in fluid flows we always have non-linear problems which cannot be handled by efficiently by finite element method. And even if it is linear, there is a problem that the number of grids normally we use millions and they use somewhat less because our domain will be somewhat very complex and very large and such things will be there. So the number of grid points are very large. And the matrix solvers that we use in finite element method are direct methods like Gauss elimination, LU decomposition, like that. But in finite volume methods, we use iterative methods like Gauss seidel iteration method or Thomas algorithm, tridiagonal matrix algorithm, such things, which are iterative methods. But when we use direct methods, as the matrix size increase, the round of error will be very large. And the error may become so large that it may be more than the practical values. That's why normally we don't prefer finite element methods in fluid flow problems. CFD, we use finite volume methods. Okay, there are only few people who are still working in finite element method, because sometimes where you have fluid structure interaction problems. Okay, I'll write something. So usually we have FDM, FEM, FDM. Okay, these are for structured grids. These are for unstructured grids. And this is used for solid mechanics or structural problems. Okay, so these use direct methods for matrix solvers, and efficient for linear problems. Okay, but this is for good for nonlinear also. Okay, and use iterative methods for matrix solvers. So here, round of errors are large. With the matrix size. Okay, so here also what happens is, because you are doing iterative methods, every iteration the error gets reduced because we are updated things we are using. So that is the advantage with finite volume methods. Okay, now we will see finite volume methods for unstructured. And so we can have 2D grid or 3D grid. And in 2D grids, we use triangular elements and quadrilateral elements. In 3D grid, we use pyramidal elements or what is it called?
Tetrahedral.
Hmm?
Tetrahedrals.
Tetrahedral elements. Tetrahedron, no, it's actually tetrahedron also is a pyramid-like thing. So if there is instead of quadrilateral, what is that I got there?
Hexagonal matrix.
Hexahedral.
Hexahedral. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so these things we use. So here, so we are limiting our discussion to 2D, and here there can be, we are going to discuss two problems. One is 1D equation. So usually we'll take conservative form of equation. So if you take conservative form of equation, you are going to get dou u by dou t plus dou u by dou x plus dou f by dou y. Inside there may be one more derivative, but to look it, it looks like 1D equation. Okay, and we will see one 2D equation also. Okay, like that. So we take conservative form of equation with quadrilateral elements, and 2D equation with triangular elements. Okay, so like this we will take some two problems we will discuss. So first we will take the conservative form of equation without source term. That is right hand side we will not have anything. We will have something like dou u by dou t plus dou e by dou x plus dou f by dou y equal to 0. This type of equation we consider. And suppose I take a quadrilateral element. So I will have something like this. And so I will show you here the numbering and okay, so this is the type of equation we consider, and we take this quadrilateral element. Okay, so there are two methods in dealing with FTM. So one is self-centered approach. Another is nodal element approach. Okay, so self-centered means the values are stored at cell centers, and here values are stored at nodes. Nodal, it's not nodal element, it is nodal point. Okay, so these are the two things. So we will deal with both the things. So self-centered approach and nodal point. The self-centers are these things like. These cell centers are also called as control points. Okay. So in cell-centered approach, the values are stored at the control points itself. But in nodal point approach, we are having the values at the nodal points, but the control points are cell centers only. Okay. So we will see how it is done. Okay. Now I integrate it over the quadrilateral element ABCD. ABCD is the quadrilateral element. I integrate it over that. So integral ABCD dou q by dou t plus dx dy. These two things I will take to the right hand side. So minus integral ABCD dou e by dou x plus dou f by dou y dx dy. Because it is a 2D element, I am taking the surface integral. Okay, and we have Green's theorem where I can convert surface integral to line integral. Okay, using Green's theorem. So here this can be written as integral ABCD. It is line integral e dy minus f dx. This is Green's theorem. Okay, so using Green's theorem we will write like this: e dy minus f dx. Okay, so this is line integral over all the four lines of on the boundaries. I have to integrate this. Okay, so how to do this? Along this line we will write e dy means ei into delta y ab plus ej delta y bc. Okay, delta y ab means yb minus ya. Okay, so delta ej into delta y bc, em into delta y cd, like that I will write. Here you can show here. Again, the left hand side dou q by dou t dx dy. So this is the q value at this point, control point I told, right? So q new value minus q old value into the area. This is the area. Okay, q5 n plus 1 minus q5 n by delta t into abcd. Dx dy is abcd because dou q by dou t is independent of the area. Here, this is independent of the area. So area comes out, it will be a constant. Into dou q by dou t, we are writing like forward difference in time. So q5 n plus 1 minus q5 n by delta t into abcd. Here E delta y, right? Here E dy minus f dx. E dy minus f dx. So E dy. So Ei delta y ab, Ez delta y bc, Em delta y cd, En delta y dA plus f dx. Okay, so this is minus C dy, it is plus f dx. So here fi into delta x ab plus fj into delta x bc, like that we write it. So as I told, delta x ab is nothing but xb minus xa, delta y ab is yb minus ya. I can write like this. Okay, now what is ei, ez, em, en? Okay, I have the values and at the control points only. It is self-centered. Okay, self-centered approach means I have values at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At these points, I have the values. So here I want E at ijmn, but I don't have values there. So the approximation is take the average of the neighboring control points or cell centers. So EI is E5 plus E2 by 2, E5 plus E2 by 2. And EJ is E5 plus E3 by 2. Similarly, EM E5 plus E4 by 2, EN E5 plus E1 by 2. Like that, I will write. Similarly, Fi, Fj, Fm, Fn also, I take the average of the neighboring cell centers. And here, star is kept. Okay, the star, it can be old values or it can be new values. If star is taken to be n, means old values, it becomes explicit scheme. So all the right hand side will become known values. So I can find out what is q5 n plus 1, the new value q. So this will become explicit. But if I take it as n plus 1, then it will become implicit. Okay, so I will get simultaneous equations which are to be solved, and I will get, so whatever be the total number of control points, so many equations I will get, and I have to solve for even ET, E3, E4, E5, like that. Okay, so these things are to be taken to the left hand side. All n plus 1s will be there, and I have to solve it. Is it okay?
Sir, E2 star, E5 star, their values are known.
Yeah, n means known values, present time. N plus 1 means unknown values.
Yes, sir.
That is next iteration. So it is like implicit and explicit, right? So if you are discretizing at in, then it is explicit. If you are discretizing at in plus 1, I will have more unknowns. All unknowns are to be taken to the left side, and I have to solve it, right? In the same way, here also, you can make it is implicit or explicit,
Okay, sir.
right?
Sir,
So if the quadrilateral, yes.
sir, using integration, how E will be EI, EJ, EM, EN?
No, this is what, see here, this is this, right?
Yes, sir.
So I have to integrate this. So integral E dy along ABCD. So ABCD, this is line integral, right?
Yes, yes.
So EI into delta y of this plus EJ into delta y of this, like that. Is it okay?
Sir, why it will be EI?
This is integral over this E dy. I have to find out what is the E value here. So we take E to be same throughout this EI.
Okay.
Okay, along AB I have to integrate. I have to do E dy along this line. So along this line, if I want E dy, right, I take the value here and I assume it is uniform throughout here in this line.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Right? Yeah. So that is the way I do. So I can do explicit or implicit. So if the quadrilateral is rectangle, okay, if it is rectangle, and this is equivalent to finite difference method with central difference approximation. If it is a rectangle and if I substitute the values, it will become just like whatever you get with central difference approximation, that is FTCS, right? It becomes like FTCS scheme. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like that it will become. Okay, this is self-centered scheme. And if I have nodal point scheme, the same equation, okay, the same equation if I use, it will be like this. Okay, QA plus QB plus QC plus QD at n plus 1, right, minus QA plus QB plus QC plus QD at n by 4 delta T. And EI delta by AB, again, this equation is same. And here EI is equal to average of these two. Previously, when cell center, because values are at cell centers, I have taken for EI this center plus this center by 2. But now the values are at nodal points. So EI here is equal to average of EA and EB. Similarly, EJ is EB plus EC by 2, like that. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Like that. And here, what is the value of this element? Q value. Q value is nothing but average of these 4. QA plus QB plus QC plus QD. Average of this by 4 is the new value at n plus 1 minus old value by delta T. Okay, this is equal to this. This is the way we do. Again, we put star here. If I put n values there, it is explicit. If it is n plus 1 values, it is implicit. Okay, it is just straightforward. Only thing is, what you get is, you are going to get the average of all the 4, QA plus QB plus QC plus QD by 4 I am getting for this element. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So like that, I am going to get at all the, for each element, I am going to get the average of these 4. And then I have to solve them to get at each point what is the value. Is it clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
if I take the neighboring element, I will get to CB, maybe here DE will be there. So the average of these 4 points I will get. Like that, I will get all the things. Then I have to solve them to get the nodal point values.
Sir, here we are determining the values at nodal points ABCD. No?
Yeah. QA, QB, QC, QD, I am going to calculate after the solving this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so like that. So finally, nodal point values are calculated. Previously, cell-centered values are calculated. Q5 is cell-center. Okay. So these are the two methods we use. So we have discussed how to solve an equation of this sort, a strong conservative partial differential equation without source with quadrilateral elements. So now we take another model equation. So unsteady 2D heat conduction equation with triangular elements. So dou T by dou T is equal to alpha del square T. This equation we are going to solve, and we are taking a triangular element here. Okay. So here what we do is, okay, this way again we have to integrate over this triangle. This is the triangle I am considering. So I have to take a surface integral ABC dou T by dou T dx dy like that. So again, if I take this left hand side, so this is T4 n plus 1 minus T4 n by delta T into area of this triangle ABC. Okay. And here again, I have the values at the nodal points, but I want this value at the control point. So what is the value at this control point? 4. If I have the values at TA, TB, TC. So this is like weighted average. We are going to get weighted average. How we get it? TA by L4A plus TB by L4B plus TC by L4C by 1 by LA plus 1 by LB, L4B by 1 by L4C. So this depends depending on how much distant it is from each node. If it is near to this, there will be more weightage for TB. And if it is near to this, there will. So in that way, this is what is called as weighted average. If I know values at A, B, C corners and how to get the value at the center. and this coordinates of 4, it is like median center, right? So x4 is equal to 1/3 of xa plus xb plus xc. Y4 is 1/3 of ya plus yb plus yc. And the area of this triangle is, you know, that matrix 1 1 1 xa xb xc ya yb yc, right? So if you expand the determinant, we will get this. This is the area of the triangle. Is every point clear whatever I'm showing here?
Sir, area of triangle, can you explain again?
Yeah, area of triangle, I think these mathematics people will know. So area of triangle 1 1 1 xa xb xc ya yb yc. This is the formula for triangle ABC, area ABC.
So 1/2 into.
1/2 into
Yes, sir.
1/2 into, okay, 1/2. Okay, so if you expand that, you are going to get that. So you can see xb xc minus xc yb, and xa yb minus xb ya. Like that we will get. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So like that. Okay, now I have to find out how to expand this particular right hand side. Okay, right hand side, here second derivatives are there. So what I will do here is, I will take f is equal to dou t by dou x and g is equal to dou t by dou y. Okay, so dou square t by dou x square will become dou f by dou x, and dou square t by dou y square will become dou z by dou y. It is just to like similarly to the previous problem. Okay, so now you use the Green's theorem. If I use Green's theorem, it will become integral ABC f dy minus g dx. Again, this is line integrals. Okay, previously we have seen, now along ABC, integral f dy means fi into delta yab and fj delta ybc, fk delta yca, like that. Minus g dx, we will write like this. Again, delta xab is xb minus xa, delta xbc, like that. Okay, in the same way as we have done the previous one. So this
Sir?
I can calculate. Yes.
Sir, here fi is average of 4 and 1.
Fi is
Average of 4 and 1.
no. Okay, it depends on whether you are taking same thing, whether you are doing nodal point or self-center approach. So if you are doing self-center approach, I have to take it as the average of f4 and f1. And if I am doing nodal point, I have to take the average of a and b.
Yes, yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, but sir, here is it's a conservation form, so we
Yeah.
use nodal.
In conservation form also, we have two methods we have done, self-centered and nodal point, right? If I am doing self-centered, then
Okay,
the
okay, sir.
value of at this point is equal to the average of these two control points,
Okay, sir.
right? If I am doing nodal point, I have to take it as the average of A and B. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So I can get this complete RHS can be calculated. Once I calculate RHS from this equation, so this is equal to RHS. So RHS into delta T by ABC. So T4n plus 1 is equal to T4n plus RHS into delta T by ABC. Okay, that's what we will get here. T4n plus 1 is T4n plus alpha into delta T by ABC into RHS. This is the way I calculate T4, I update it. Okay, now it is not at over. Okay, it is not at over. Here F is actually dou T by dou X. Okay, so I don't know the values of dou T by dou X at the nodes. I know only T. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So I have to calculate dou T by dou X at I have to calculate. So how to do that? This I will do here. So Fi is dou T by dou X at I. Okay, so if I want like that, here. So at this point, so here I have to consider this quadrilateral. I have to integrate this over this quadrilateral. So here it is done like this. Fi is dou t by dou xi integral a1 b4 dou t by dou x dx dy by area a1 b4. This is a1 b4. a1 b4. Over this I have to integrate. Am I clear? To get dou t by dou x at this point. So here a1 b4. So ta plus t1 by ta plus t1 into delta by a1, t1 plus tb delta, because a1 b4 along a1, along 1b, along b4 and along 4a. So I have to do like this. Is it clear? Average of a and 1 here by 2 is there. Okay, so ta plus t1 by 2 into delta by a1. I am doing the integration over all the four sides. Okay, so along a1, I take ta plus t1 by 2, and along this tb plus t1 by 2 like that. Okay, tb plus t1 by 2.
Sir?
Tb, yes.
Sir, why we divide by area?
I want to get dou t by dou x at this point. I am taking the average of all. Just 1 minute, please. హలో చెప్పండి, ఎక్కడున్నారు? ఓకే ఓకే, కిందకు వచ్చి తీసుకుంటాం. అక్కడ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ ముందు ఉన్నారా? ఓకే ఓకే, సరే ఇప్పుడే వస్తుంది. కిందకి వెళ్ళి అమెజాన్ దాంట్లో వస్తుంది, తీసుకుంటాం. అమెజాన్ది ఈ మౌస్ బుక్ చేశాను, అక్కడ కింద నోట్స్ బోర్డు దగ్గర ఉన్నాడంట. చెప్పి పట్టుకుని okay. Okay, so I want dou t by dou x at I. Okay, so dou t by dou x. So along this, that is around that I am taking a1 b4. Okay, so I am taking ta plus t1 along all the four lines. So along this line, this line, this line, this line, I am taking. So here it is like dou t by dou x dx dy. What happens is it becomes like t dy. So t at that average t on that line into delta y, average t on the next line, because a1 b4, a1 line, 1b line, b4 line and 4a line. On all the four lines I am finding out t delta y. Is that okay? This dou t by dou x dx dy, when you integrate it, it becomes like t delta y. So t delta y on all the four sides of a1 b4 rhombus like thing, quadrilateral. Tell me if is it clear or not?
Sir, why we divides by area? I cannot understand.
No, it is like see, this dx dy is area, right? I am integrating over the area. This dx dy. So I am this is like multiplying by the area and dividing by the area like that.
Okay, okay, sir.
Integral
Yes,
dx
yes.
dy is like area, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so in that way. So if this step is clear, all the things are repeated on all the fi, fj, fk, gi, gj, gk, same way. So on different. So for I am taking this rhombus like thing. For j, I take this rhombus, and for k, I take this rhombus. Okay, so in that way, I have to find out fi, fj, fk, ga, gj, gk, and once I get them, I substitute here in this equation. I know all the coordinates. So delta y AB, delta y BC, all these things are known. So I know the whole RHS. And once I get the RHS, I use this. This is equal to RHS. So RHS into delta T by AABC. If you add to T4n, you will get T4n plus 1. And how to get this area A1B4? So A1B4 area is equal to 1/3 of ABC and ADB. Okay, what is ABC? This is ABC and this is ADB. Okay, so add areas of these two and divide by 3, then you will get the area of this particular one. So 1/3 AABC plus AADB. In the same way, if I want area of this triangle, this quadrilateral, I have to take ABC plus BCE, 1/3 of that. Okay, so like that. So I get these things. And by solving this, what I am getting is, I am getting the values at the control points. Am I clear? I'm going to get value for this T4 I am getting. And when I take for this, I'm going to get T2, T3. Like that, I'm going to get the values at the control points. But if I want the values at the nodes, okay, how to get the values at the nodes? TA m plus 1, if I want value at this particular one, okay, so the new value is equal to sigma m equal to 1 to 5 Tm n plus 1 by LMA by sigma. It is like again taking the weighted average of all the neighboring control points. For this A, there will be this control point, there may be one more here, like that. I have some number of control points around this. And I have to take the weighted average of all the control points to get the value at A. Okay, that's what it is done here. Is it clear? Just like the previous weighted average I have done here, like this, Okay. In that way, I'm going to get the weighted average of all the control points around it. Okay, this is the way I have to find out the values at the nodes. Am I clear about this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here M is the number of control points around A. Okay, so this is the way I have to do it. Okay, once we understand that, then boundary conditions how to apply. Okay, there are interior triangles and exterior triangles. If you see here in this figure, there are boundary triangles and interior triangles. These are all interior triangles and these are all boundary triangles. So I will have some boundary condition, either Dirichlet condition or Neumann condition. If it is Dirichlet condition, it's easy to apply, but Neumann condition, it is a bit complex to apply. So we will discuss about that. Okay, Dirichlet boundary condition. Since the temperature distribution along the boundary is specified for a Dirichlet boundary condition, the temperature value at the control points of boundary triangles can be easily determined. For this purpose, the temperature value at the control point is updated using the weighted average scheme. Okay, so here like this. If I have like so suppose this is the boundary triangle, and there will be a suppose this is the boundary triangle and this is the control point, and I have to take the weighted average of this point and these points, and this point is given as the boundary condition. So that is to be incorporated to get the value at this control point. If I have this control point, I have to take the weighted average of these 3 points, and these two are boundary conditions and this is interior point. So whichever triangle has boundary points, right, these values temperature I know, and I can take the control point of these boundary triangles using the weighted average of all the 3 nodes. Okay, so that is the way I have to do it. Okay, it is like weighted average. It's ABC or the weighted average, and out of this ABC, there may be one or two points on the boundary. The other points may be interior, and for the whole triangle, I have to take the uh, weighted average for the control point of the triangle. Is this equation clear? Same equation that we have used previously. And okay, this is straightforward. But if I have a Newman boundary condition, then
That
there is difficult. Yes.
sir, explain again that digital conditions.
Okay, Dirichlet condition. So this formula you know, right? If I know all the three nodes of a triangle, I have to find out the value at the control point.
Yes, sir.
This formula you know, right? So this formula is to be applied for all the boundary triangles. Okay, for all these boundary triangles. For suppose this boundary triangle is there, I know the value at this these 2 points. If I take this triangle, I know the values at these 2 points. These are boundary temperatures which are given as boundary condition, and this is interior one. So either initial guess or updated value, I will have some values on the interior points. And using these boundary temperatures and this, I have to take the weighted average to get the control point of the boundary triangles. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is the way. Okay, then Newman condition. It is apparent that the application of Newman type boundary condition is not as simple as Dirichlet type. The difficulty is encountered because, in most cases, the locations of nodes are such that normal gradients at the surface cannot be directly defined. Okay, now Newman condition means normal gradient you will get. That's why I want orthogonal grid. If I have orthogonal grid, suppose insulated boundary is there, dou t by dou n is equal to 0, k dou t by dou n. N is normal direction. So the derivative I have to find out in normal condition. If it is Cartesian system, there is no problem. I have the boundary lines perpendicular to the boundary. But if I have unstructured grid, I will not have grid lines perpendicular to the boundary. But I want to apply the boundary condition for the normal derivative. So that is the problem. Okay, so by incorporating of an indirect iterative scheme, the flux boundary condition can be enforced. If I have the flux boundary condition, which is Newman type, I have to do iterative scheme. To illustrate the difficulty and subsequently the solution procedure, consider a heat distribution along the boundary. Okay, suppose I have some heat distribution given. This is the boundary along I, D, A, B, G. These are the points on the boundary I, D, A, B, G. Okay, I know heat flux. So heat flux may be given in this way. Okay, so forget about this. I am given heat flux boundary condition. Okay, heat flux is known. So as a part of overall solution, it is required to determine the temperature values at points ID, A, B, C. I am given the heat flux distribution, but I have to know the temperatures at those nodes. And on the control points 1, 2, 3, 4. Once I get the temperatures at the nodes, I should be able to calculate the control points temperatures also. So how to do this? Okay, so these are the control points, and these are the boundary points ID, A, B, G. Okay, so I have to find out these values, and then maybe using the weighted average, I can find out the values at the control points. Okay, how to go about it? I have to find out the midpoints of the elements. Here on the boundary, the midpoints. Suppose xm here is xa plus xb by 2 by a plus yb by 2. In the same way, the coordinates of n is xp plus xg by 2, yb plus yg by 2. Like that, I can find out the coordinates of the center points of the boundary elements, basis of the boundary elements. Okay, this is this. And flux also is assumed to be average of the Qm is Qa plus Qb by 2, like that. Is this point clear? I am taking the midpoints of the basis of the boundary elements, and the coordinates and the heat flux are determined.
Sir,
Yes.
Sir, the flux value at the Newman condition, it should not be 0.
No, if it is insulated, it is 0. So normally you will be given the heat flux. Heat flux given means Q is equal to minus K dou T by dou X. If it is insulated, dou T by dou N I have to take. Okay. So this is the heat flux. So heat flux is given. So I know what is dou T by dou N. So dou T by dou N is equal to minus Q by K, like this. And this dou T by dou N is known. And if it is insulated, then Q is 0. I will get dou T by dou N equal to 0. So like this.
Sir, all these dou T by dou N is equal to 0 and dou T by dou N is equal to minus Q by K, like for heat flux condition or isolated condition, both are, sir, Newman conditions? No?
Newman conditions only, right? Whenever I know the value of the derivative of the dependent variable, that is Newman condition.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So this value is known, dou T by dou N. This is given. So means derivative is given. So it is Newman condition. Okay.
Sir, if
Yes, sir.
temperatures of the nodes are specified, then what is the meaning of Newman, sir?
What is that?
If
No, I want temperatures. I am not interested in heat flux. I want finally the temperatures at the boundaries and the control points and the interior nodes, all these things. I want
Yes, sir.
temperature distribution.
you are saying that we need, will be that means it has to be specified the temperatures of the nodes, sir.
Temperatures at the nodes I have to find out. That is the solution of numerical scheme,
Okay, sir.
right? But I am given the derivative.
Yes,
Is it clear?
yes.
That's what. So I have to find out Ti, Td, Ta, Tb, Tc, like that. Is it okay?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, here dou T by dou N is specified at I D A V G.
At
That point.
every point, if it is the heat flux is constant, it is constant throughout the boundary. Is it clear?
So, sir, why we need to find at P using
I didn't understand. My aim is to find out the temperatures at the nodes. Okay. I am given, if it is Dirichlet condition, I know the values at the nodes on the boundary. But now I know the values of the derivatives. Okay. So my intention is to find out the temperatures at all the nodes, interior and the boundary and other control points. Temperature distribution I have to find out by solving the energy equation, right? Now what is the question?
sir,
Yes.
sir, dou T by dou N specified I D A B G.
Yeah.
Sir,
And all the ID, A, B, Z at all the
and
points.
it also specified at P W M
Yeah,
N.
P, W, M, N, and also the whole boundary and all whole boundary at any point, dou T by dou N is specified. It is uniform heat flux, right? Uniform temperature. There are two types of problems in heat transfer you are doing. Constant heat temperature, the temperature boundary, or constant heat flux boundary. This is constant heat flux boundary.
Sir, so why we need to calculate at P using I and D, that is average of I and D?
I will tell you now why I am taking the midpoint, why I am doing all this.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I am giving the normal derivative I am given. How to implement that here? So what I do is I take the midpoints of all the boundary elements on the base and I draw a normal. Okay, so this is the normal mk. Could you see that? Like that, for
Yes,
each
sir.
element
Yes,
I
sir.
have drawn the normals. So along the normal I know the derivative. So here only I can apply. Okay. So that is it. So along this line only I know the derivative. Okay, now generate a line perpendicular to the edge, and this is let it be mm dash. Now determine the intersection of line mm dash with the edge of the triangle, either edge AC or BC. Now if I draw a line like this, okay, mm dash, okay, this is m dash here, okay. So this line is drawn, but it may cut AC line or BC line, I don't know. Am I clear? If I take this next element, it is cutting the right side edge. But if I take this particular ABC, it is cutting the left side edge. And if I take this this triangle, which is 3 control point, and it is going through the vertex here. So it may go through the vertex, it may cut the right edge, it may cut the left edge. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So here, so it may cut either edge AC or BC. To generalize, represent either one of the vertices A or B as Z. Okay, so if it is cutting AC, so A is Z. If it is cutting BC, B is Z. Okay, like that I assume. So it is cutting the edge ZC. Okay, so if it is cutting like that, the edge which intersects the line mm dash is ZC. Call the intersection point as K and define parameter R by R is equal to LKC by LZC. Okay, so I am taking the average of LKC and LZC, that is at what ratio it is cutting this edge. Okay, am I clear? I want to find out this intersecting point at what ratio it is cutting, so that the temperature here also will be at the same ratio for A and C. Okay, so I want to find out that ratio. So R is equal to LKC by LZC. And so how to get the temperatures, the coordinates and the K and at K, xk, yk is equal to xc plus R into xz minus xc. Yc is equal to the yk is equal to yc plus R into yz minus yc. That is, if I know the, because I know the coordinates of C, I know the coordinate of A. How to find out the coordinates of K if I know at what ratio it is cutting? So because R is the ratio, I can get like this, the coordinates I can get. And also temperature also, it will be at the same ratio. So I can find out the temperature at K. So this is important. If I know the values at the endpoints, I can find out the values of the X, Y, and T using the endpoint coordinates and temperature. Okay, so that is it. And so how to know whether it is cutting AC or BC? Okay, for that, so this formula is to be used because these two are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so I can find out the slope of this line and the slope of this line, and the product of these two slopes must be -1. So I can find out this way. Okay, this is the products, and this K can be, okay, this slope is met, and these, in this equation, these equations are substituted, xk and yk, they are substituted there, and I am going to get this equation. And here xz, yz are there, right? So here if you substitute A coordinates, you get some value for R. And if you substitute B coordinates, you are going to get some value for R. And R should be between 0 and 1. So when you substitute A coordinates, if you get between 0 and 1, A is the Z. If you substitute B coordinates and if you get R is between 0 and 1, then Z is B. Like that, I can find out which line is intersected. Okay, so that is the way I have to find out which line is intersected. And once I understand that, so the Tm is equal to Tk minus Qm Lkm by K. Okay, I can find out the temperature at M because heat flux is given. This is the heat flux minus K dou T by dou N. Dou T by dou N is Tm minus Tk by Lkm. along the, so dou T by dou N, that is along this normal, Tk minus Tm by Lkm is dou T by dou N. Is it clear? Dou T by dou N along this line, because this is the normal, right? So the temperature difference by length will give me dou T by dou N. Okay, so Tm minus Tk by Lkm. I know Lkm, I know Qm. I can find out what is the temperature at the midpoint. So in that way, I can find out the values at the midpoints. And once I know the values at the midpoints, I can find out the values at the nodes, because this is Ta if I want Tm plus Tw by 2. So Ta here is equal to Tm plus Tw by 2.
Sir,
Tb is equal to Tn plus Tm by 2, like that. Yes?
sir, here we have determined the value at K by using the value at M, no?
Yeah.
And heat flux.
Actually, yeah. Here, while because this is iterative scheme, in the iterations, I will find out the endpoints here. Using the old values, I can find out what is values at this, because it is, I know at what ratio it is cutting. So I can find out Tk. Using Tk and the boundary condition heat flux, I can find out the value at Tm. Tk is calculated using C, Tc and Ta, old values.
So, sir, we are determining the value at K by using A, and then we are determining the value of
Again,
temperature
I am
at M.
calculating A. I am updating A.
And then, sir, by using the value of K, we are determining value of M at M. Sorry.
Yeah. And using this M again, I update the value of K.
Okay, sir.
Every iteration, the C is updated. Interior
So,
nodes
like,
I calculate.
sir, doing time marching here.
Yeah. Either
Okay, sir.
time
Yes,
marching
yes.
or iterative method. I always update the interior values. Using the interior values, I have to find out the boundary values.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So using Tc and Ta, calculate Tk. Using the boundary condition, calculate Tm. And using Tm and Tw midpoints on the side points, I can get the average of that as Ta. Like that, I have to do the iterative scheme. For every iteration, I have to update it. Okay, the method is explained here. You can go through that. Is it clear? This is the way we have to do. This is a little bit complex to get implement the Newman boundary condition in the unstructured grid, because I don't have, that is the main advantage of having orthogonal grid in structured grids. If you have orthogonal grid, that is boundary fitted coordinates, right? The boundary is fitted coordinates. So I will have the grid lines normal to the boundary. So dou T by dou N I can easily implement. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this completes this particular chapter, right? You go through the chapter, 18th chapter of Hoffman. And so if you have no questions, we will go for the story. And there is an example problem also is given. Okay. So it is solved. You can see how we get the isothems and all. This is the grid, triangular grid. Total nodes used 1296 and total triangles are 2450. And the solution is given like this. How the temperature contours. As at different, it is time marching. If you do at different times, the temperature here gets traveled into this. And the Newman boundary condition if I use, so you will get this. Okay, so you can go through that example problem. This is okay. We will go for the story then. So it's a small, nice story of some messes. And so it is narrated by a person. He says, I have parked in front of the mall, wiping off my car. So he has parked his car before a mall, and he is wiping it off. And I had just come from the car wash and was waiting for my wife to get out of work. And coming my way from across the parking lot was what society would consider a bum. Okay, so a poorly dressed and horrible looking person is coming there. And from the looks of him, he had no car, no home, no clean clothes, and no money. So I can understand by seeing that person that he doesn't have anything. And there are times when you feel generous, but there are other times that you just don't want to be bothered. Okay, so sometimes when you look at that people, you may give some money, and sometimes you'll get bored, and you will feel that that fellow may trouble you or disturb you. And this was one of those don't want to be bothered times. And I hope he doesn't ask me for any money, he thought. He didn't ask any money. He came and sat on the curb in front of the bus stop, but he didn't look like he could have enough money to even ride the bus. And after a few minutes, he spoke. That's a very pretty car, he said. He was ragged, but he had an air of dignity around him. His scraggly blonde beard kept more than his face warm. I said thanks and continued wiping off my car. He sat there quietly as I worked. The expected plea for money never came. He thought he will ask for money, but that fellow didn't ask. As the silence between us widened, something inside me said, ask him if he needs any help. And finally he thought, okay, better ask me if he needs any help. I was sure that he would say yes, but I held true to the inner voice. And then I asked, do you need any help? He answered in three simple but profound words that I shall never forget. So what he told is, don't we all? When he asked, do you need any help? He replied, don't we all? We often look for wisdom in great men and women. We expect it from those of higher learning and accomplishments. I expected nothing but an outstretched grimy hand. He spoke the three words that shook me. Don't we all? I was feeling high and mighty, successful and important, above a bomb in the street, until those three words hit me like a 12-gauge shotgun. Don't we all? I also need help, maybe not for bus fare or place to sleep, but I needed help. I reached in my wallet and gave him not only enough for bus fare, but enough to get a warm meal and shelter for the day. Those three little words still ringing in my ears. No matter how much you have, no matter how much you have accomplished, you need help too. No matter how little you have, no matter how loaded you are with problems, even without money or a place to sleep, still you can give help. Even if it's just a compliment, you can give that. You never know when you may see someone that appears to have it all. They are waiting on you to give them what they don't have, a different perspective in life, a glimpse at something beautiful, and a respite from daily chaos that only you through a torn world can see. Maybe the man was just a homeless stranger wandering in the streets. Maybe he was more than that. Maybe he was sent by a power that is great and wise to minister to a soul like me to comfort me. Maybe God looked down, called an angel, dressed him like a bum, and then said, go minister to that man cleaning the car. That man needs help. Don't we all? Right? This is the story. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.